Hey guys, Marcel here from theScore eSports. We are at the first day of the best of 5 series right now in the semis, and we have the lovely Sjokz here from Europe. So, how was Shanghai so far for you? Like, how has Shanghai treated you? I mean, you've been here for like almost 2 weeks right now, right?
Yeah, almost 2 weeks, which is a long time. But it's cool because oftentimes when we go to events like this, you just kind of do the show and you don't do anything around and then you go home. So now it was nice to kind of have the group stage, have a lot of time to focus on that, have some days off, and then go into the semifinals. And I think Shanghai is an amazing city. Really lively, really cool, a lot of nice people. Yeah, I've been having a great time.
Yeah. Great time. So, what was like the most memorable experience from the group stage? Because I think the format right now is like probably like really good for the international competition because we're playing double round robin. And which games has stood out? Like maybe, I mean, Europe has obviously disappointed quite a few people. North America has surprised quite a few people. But from your experience, how was like the group stage?
I think it was amazing because despite Europe not doing well, which of course, you know, I would always love to have Europe do well, but I think as a viewer, as a global viewer, you got so many things in return for that. You had the SKT storyline, you had RNG on home turf doing amazingly, you had the Flash Wolves showing up and CLG doing so well. And I think the games that I like the most are the ones that CLG ended up winning at the very end. So for instance, that RNG match or the SKT match where you really thought it was lost and they turn it around. And I also think that's cool as a viewer that is possible right now in League and in the meta.
Yeah. Okay, so SKT lost 4 games in a row, right? And I think everyone was shocked, how can they lose 4 games? They had a green overlords. And right as we do this interview, SKT just came back and swept like 3-1 basically, right? So what's your take on the best of 1 between best of 5? Do you think that best of 1s really don't say anything and people are over-exaggerating? Like a lot of the teams maybe overrating the performance of CLG maybe, or underrating. What's your take on this best of 1, best of 5?
I think that's hard to say. I obviously think that more games are better for practice teams, and it's something that we especially saw during IEM when Fnatic just went all the way up because they played so many games in a row. However, I think that in a competitive tournament, you know that at one point you might have to play a group stage that is best of 1s and also show that you're adept at best of series. And I don't think that people are overhyping CLJ to that regard because they showed very different things in those best of 1s. And I think if you look at the SKT point, once you lose 4 best of 1s in a row, then there's just something wrong, and it does have nothing to do with the format. But it also set them up to have an incredible performance here, and I'm honestly quite shocked that they, not that they won in general, but how they won in those final 3 games versus RNG.
Yeah. Okay, so we have Flash Wolves and CLG playing tomorrow. I'm not sure when this interview is coming out, but we probably have SKT in the final between one of the 2 teams. Final prediction for this tournament?
CLG SKT final. Even, you know, I'm always a fan of Europe and everything, but I would love to see them winning it. But if SKT plays the way they did today, I think SKT is going to take it. It just seems like they flipped a switch. But I just hope we get our 5 games and it doesn't end up being a stomp either way.
Okay, so this tournament is 2 more days to go, right?
Yeah.
But Europe is going into the next split. And yesterday we just announced that YellOwStaR is returning back to Fnatic. And I want to hear like your take. Maybe is Fnatic like coming back together as the one international squad that Europe needs to perform here?
Well, I hope we have more than Fnatic to show for come Worlds. I mean, well, however the teams end up. But I do think it's really cool for them. I know that, you know, YellOwStaR hasn't been the best player in NA when he went to NA or the best support, but he explained a little bit about how it was that he was just homesick and it just didn't really click. And for me, it leaves to be seen how much he will bring to the table mechanically and everything, because, you know, he has been playing for a very long time, but I do feel like the mental aspect for a team like Fnatic and for a player like Reckless is so important, and I really think that will bring them back together, and hopefully they can then do well.
What about the rest of the European teams? Do you have like any predictions maybe like that, how teams are going to end up? Do you think Fnatic is just going to reign Europe again, like 18-0, no competition, or do you think that's like a lot closer? Because I mean, Europe performed really poor internationally, but maybe like domestically we have like a battle for like the top 6 because teams get closer and closer, right? And what's your take on this whole thing?
Well, of course, we still have a lot of rosters in flux and this and that. We now saw Rocket's going to do, so that's a totally new factor. We don't know how they're going to perform, but I mean, I definitely hope that a team like H2K and Vitality, who show like different things than what G2 showed, who were like more on being aggressive, having a lot of fights, and then weaving in the macro later. And I know that a lot of people say, oh, it's boring to watch, but if it's executed perfectly, then sometimes it's nice to watch. The problem is keeping it going for a whole split. And I think if we, as Europe, can come with 3 teams to the World Championship that have different styles, but are on top of their game, as opposed to obviously what happened with G2, we hopefully have a good showing. But if anything, I just hope that the group stage is just as crazy as it was at MSI.
Yeah. I hope so too. Last question. A little bird tweeted me that you're a big fan of Leona, and we have seen Leona actually. So what's your take on this champion? Because their champion hasn't really seen a lot of play, or no play at all in like the last 2 years. So are you happy that she's back?
I mean, I'm happy to have seen it, but I just don't know what happened in that game, because obviously it's like, okay, yeah, if you get that kill in lane once or twice, that's going to be really good for you, but there's just so many better options now, and we saw that the bottom lane of SKT was just able to roll over them and then control the rest of the game with Soraka, and I don't know, I would have loved to have seen him stick to for Brown, for example, because it wasn't banned. I don't really know what happened. I'm quite flustered that there wasn't more Automata because we were really looking at him. But on the other hand, props to Wolf and Bang as well for stepping up. Faker for being, having an amazing series and looking maybe even better than he did so far in the split or in the year. Juke, Blank, like, I don't know. They just showed up and RNG for me didn't today.
Okay. That are the final words.
Yes.
RNG just didn't show up. And if you guys want to check out more interview stuff, we have them over at theScore.esports.com. Make sure to check out all the interviews. And yeah, thank you so much for this interview.
No problem. Thank you.
And see you guys next time. Bye.